買嗰啲股票，並且成為啲公司財團嘅大股東，滲透我哋衣食住行不同嘅公司，嚟到壟斷我哋香港嘅經濟。結果呢，中資機構佢唔需要送中條例，就可以將佢嘅專制政府嘅魔爪延伸到去，令到我哋嘅職場喪失我哋原有嘅言論自由、人身自由、表達政見嘅自由。所以呢個相同於就係一個變相嘅送中條例，但係佢冇喺法例上通過，不過用中資機構嘅資本魔爪去令到香港嘅職場喪失咗我哋僱員嘅自由。所以喺呢一度，我喺度呼籲大家，而家我哋面對危機咧係非常迫切嘅。我哋都聽到消息咧，中共政權咧已經全方位調整佢嘅策略，就係動員啲中資企業、國有企業有系統、有組織咁去入侵香港各行各業嘅公司，去控制佢哋經營權，甚至乎影響佢營運。如果到嗰個事情不斷咁發生落去嘅時候咧，我哋要去捍衛自己喺職場裏邊嘅權利同埋自由咧，係越嚟越艱難。所以喺呢個事情未去到進一步惡化嘅時候，我呼籲大家要組織起嚟，各行各業嘅工友，我哋要組織翻自己嘅自主工會，然後我哋可以穩住我哋嘅陣地，變成一個防火牆，抵抗中資機構嘅入侵，喺職場裏邊繼續同資本嘅魔爪咬手瓜，好冇？好！我哋好多嘅時候咧都嗌香港人加油，我想今次咧嗌香港工人加油，好冇？香港工人！香港工人！香港工人！大家繼續努力！多謝晒。喺組織工會、組織我哋香港打工仔嘅路途上面咧，其實仍然係一個好漫長嘅道路。希望大家今晚即係其實好多，即係除非我哋係有錢人嚟嘅啫，或者我哋大老細做生意啫。其實我哋每一個人都係工人，每一個人都係勞動者，所以我哋每一個人組織起嚟，我哋今日、我哋聽日、我哋以後都可以抵抗呢個白色恐怖嘅魔爪嘅。咁啊，我哋成日講話工人大團結啦，咁我哋梗係需要有啲愛國嘅朋友嘅支持。咁我想邀請下一位啦 ，Griffith Jones 就係一個嚟自美國嘅公運分子，亦都係我哋香港社會運動嘅成員。To invite Griffith Jones, activist from the United States and a member of Hong Kong Socialist Action.
Thank you, Pasha. I joined my first union in 1980, having just graduated from college, and worked for 10 years at grassroots level within several trade unions in the United States. And it's from that experience that I want to address you tonight. But first of all, I would like to point out that 2 days ago at midnight, once America's most powerful trade union, the United Auto Workers, who froze the auto industry in the U.S., occupied factories, and literally brought the capitalist system in the United States to its knees in the 1930s. That most powerful of unions went on strike again at midnight for the first time in 11 years. Yeah, definitely. And power to them. UAW workers at General Motors have gone without pay raises since they accepted a U.S. government-brokered deal in 2008, when the economic crisis, the global economic crisis, brought GM to its knees and very near bankruptcy. And what that near collapse of General Motors was not caused by anything besides the poor leadership of the company and its lack of innovation away from American-style gas-guzzling cars. That deal included major concessions, the freezing of all pay hikes, and most importantly, the expansion of two-tier wage system between full-timers and temporary workers, even though they did the same work and in some cases, even for the same number of years at GM. And the closure, the establishment of several non-union factories. Meanwhile, it's worth pointing out that GM executives have steadily seen raises to their salary, and the CEO herself makes $22 million a year. So why am I relating this news from the US? It's to explain the relevance of two overriding principles of trade unionism. The first one being solidarity as expressed in an injury to one is an injury to all. And the second being the critical importance of democratic process in decision-making and organization within the trade unions themselves. The principle of solidarity extends across borders and between workers of all races and creeds. But I relate it specifically to the United Auto Workers' acceptance of a two-tier system whereby they sacrifice the interest of a whole section of the workforce at General Motors. And they did it because they were willing to sacrifice their own members to save, so-called save, General Motors. And in order for General Motors to receive multi-billion-dollar handout from the US government. So solidarity, the principle of solidarity was violated by the United Auto Workers in that sense when they accepted the deal. But the second point I just made about democratic process, a democratic organization, well, the United Auto Workers was very strong and powerful in the 1930s when it was formed as part of the Congress of Industrial Organizations. And even through the 50s and 60s, 70s, right up until the 80s, the United Auto Workers still represented a powerful force within the US economy. But for the last 40 years, they have been in steady decline. And I would point to nothing more significant in that decline than the destruction of democratic process and the corruption of the leadership of the United Auto Workers. And to see that, one only needs to look to today. 2 days ago when they went on strike, the president of the United Auto Workers USA is sitting in jail for corruption, along with 3 other top executives of the union. It's that denial of democratic process. So I just wanted to bring a message of the importance of solidarity, which we see today with our action in support of Nathan Young, my comrade, and a Hong Kong worker who dared to raise the question of the need for a union and the need to come out in the general strike of September 3rd at HSBC and was promptly terminated for it, in spite of the laws of Hong Kong guaranteeing freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the right to form unions. And also, just to remind us all of the importance of democratic process, because without it, there's no other way for us together to come to the right decisions, to forge the correct strategies and the most effective tactics in the work that we do, whether it be a struggle against the extradition bill or Occupy Central from 5 years ago, or what comes next for Hong Kong. Thank you all.
Thank you, Griffith. 咁啊，頭先係 Griffith 咧，佢啱啱去帶嚟美國公歷練嚟嘅。當呢兩樣嘢團結同埋民主強大嘅時候，都會強大，而我哋民間力量、社會抗爭嘅力量就會強大。而調翻轉，當我哋喪失咗團結、喪失咗民主組織嘅時候咧，咁我哋就會俾個獨裁政權去乘虛而入㗎啦。咁啊，由於我哋時間其實都過咗時少少，不過咧，我最後希望喺借呢個機會啦，去同大家去呼籲啦。咁其實我哋抗爭日程表之後落嚟咧，都有好多場好重要嘅抗爭行動，我哋都呼籲大家去參加，尤其是就10月1號。 呢個係中共獨裁嘅國慶。咁對於我哋嚟講就冇乜好慶祝嘅，因為係一個獨裁嘅鎮壓，所以我哋希望大家一定要參加十一大行。當然，如果警察如果黑警佢再一次去反對、去唔批准呢個大嘅遊行咧，其實我覺得我哋香港人咧亦都要去有一種抗命嘅精神。我哋可以，大家可能話喂，我可以行街，我可以所謂自由行去繞過佢嘅禁制令，但係佢嘅禁令其實去到最尾就係展現咗呢個獨裁制度剝奪我哋示威權利、剝奪我哋言論自由嘅一個手段。我哋係需要一個公開而清晰嘅訊息，話俾個政權聽，佢嘅禁令對我哋無效，因為我哋去遊行係無需共產黨批准嘅，我哋去集會，我哋去示威係無需黑警批准嘅，係咪啊？我有權示威，無需黑警批准。打壓集會可恥，五大訴求，五大訴求，沒有報酬，沒有報酬。我覺得最後咧喺完之前，因為我哋始終有好多外國嘅媒體好關心 Nathan 呢件事啦，梁禮邦呢件事啦。咁我最後亦都希望去用英文啦去總結我哋今次嘅活動嘅。I'll recap in English about our protest today. We're here today to stand in solidarity with Nathan Leung, an outsourced worker for the HSBC guest service team in Hong Kong. He was sacked on the 5th of September for organising a trade union for his sector and also for taking part in a general strike on the 3rd of September, which is part of the mass protest against authoritarian rule and police brutality in Hong Kong. His dismissal is one of the several cases where big companies in Hong Kong are trying to deprive workers of the right to strike and to participate in the historic mass protest, with similar cases at Cathay Pacific, MTR, and other companies. 2 days after the September 3rd strike, the labour outsourcing company of HSBC, whom told Nathan that HSBC decided to fire him on the grounds that he broke one of the so-called confidentiality code, that they did not allow staff to publicly reveal that they work for HSBC. Now this is an absurd and undemocratic practice for several reasons. For one, HSBC is one of the biggest companies and employers of the financial sector in Hong Kong and the world. Therefore, its relationship with the Chinese regime and the local Hong Kong government is a matter of public interest in the current mass protest. Secondly, it is impossible not to mention the company one works for in the process of organising a trade union. It is clear that his dismissal is part of a wider crackdown against freedom of speech and the freedom of association, which are all written into Hong Kong's laws. Now, the labour outsourcing company offered Nathan an alternative position elsewhere on the condition that he will not protest against HSBC's dismissal or make further mention of HSBC and its actions towards him. This was unacceptable as it amounted to a gagging order and would mean that he consented to the undemocratic infringement of the right to set up a union and to participate in legal and peaceful protest. He therefore refused to accept this and instead intend to continue to work for the establishment of a democratic and fighting trade union for the banking and finance sector workers in Hong Kong, and to defend our rights, including the right to free speech. HSBC, along with other big companies in Hong Kong, has submitted to the Chinese dictatorship time and again under its economic and political pressure. For example, under the pressure from the China China's liaison office in Hong Kong, the bank decided to stop placing an advertisement with Apple Daily, a media group allied with the democratic opposition. Since the beginning of the pro-democracy mass movement in June, the Chinese regime has increased its connections with HSBC. In August, Chinese state-owned enterprise Ping An Insurance became the largest shareholder of HSBC. Soon afterwards, 3 top managers resigned and HSBC published a pro-government advertisements in newspapers, accusing Hong Kong protesters of so-called conducting violence and damaging social order. HSBC has completely taken sides against the Hong Kong democracy movement. Now, especially since August, we see a wave of white terror by several big companies in Hong Kong, with workers and trade unions being spied on, threatened and punished, including dozens of dismissals for supporting the anti-government protest. An injury to one is an injury to all. With the Chinese dictatorship directly controlling Hong Kong now, freedom of speech and trade union rights of not only HSBC workers, but all Hong Kong workers will be further threatened. We must organize and resist together against the combined repression of the Chinese state and of the big business. We will continue to organize a finance and banking sector trade union and protest against HSBC's anti-union's role. We call upon other labor activists and workers in Hong Kong and across the world to join us in the fight, including organizing international solidarity protests to support the fight for democratic trade unions in Hong Kong as well as in China. Reinstate Nathan Leung! Stop union busting! 5 demands, not 1 less! Long live international solidarity! Long live international solidarity! 5大訴求！ 5大訴求！ 沒有暴徒！ 沒有暴徒！ 好多謝今晚大家同我哋嚟參加一聲援 Nathan， 聲援所有喺今次嘅運動入邊，因為資方嘅白色恐怖、受打壓、受禁言、受到辭退嘅所有打工仔，我哋都希望喺度，希望所有嘅，如果你哋喺職場、喺公司受任何嘅壓迫、恐嚇，甚至係打壓嘅話咧，我哋一定要組織起嚟，可以揾我哋，可以揾 Nathan， 我哋團結就係力量。多謝大家。咁我哋今晚嘅集會咧就去到呢度啦。咁啊，好多謝大家嘅支持。光復香港！光復香港！光復香港！香港人！香港人！如果大家有啲示威牌咁啊，如果想交還嘅話咧，可以攞翻嚟呢個橫額呢度位置嘅。好，多謝晒。
咁咪係咯，